Order, please. Order, please. Thank you. Welcome to the Laramie City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, April the 21st, 2026. And if you'd like, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Here.
Freed.
Here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
Behill. Absent. Richardson.
Here.
Cumby.
Here.
That's 8 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Next, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Welcome, and if you can state your name for the record.
Gladly. Mirav Ben David. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak on non-agenda items. And again, thank you very much for everything you do for our community. I want to put this on the agenda because I think it's critical for us to discuss this. It may seem minor, but actually it is not. I would like to ask you to make creating a new dog park for Laramie a priority. And the reason is, well, there are multiple reasons. The main one, based on our calculations, there are more than 23,000 dogs within the city limits. We have 2 very, very small dog parks currently, one in Optimist and one in Aragon. They are not meeting the needs of the community, and if you compare our resources to other municipalities around us, they're ridiculously small and don't allow owners to actually exercise with their dogs, something that has been shown by research to be very good for mental and physical health. Even the small town of Saratoga, 1,800 people, has a dog park that is 3 times larger than Optimist. We can do better. What I've done is I worked with Mr. Bork here on creating a survey of what community would like, the survey and the statement of need, the survey, impressions from dog parks in municipalities surrounding us, and a few proposed locations are in a document that I've sent around, and anybody who wants the document, I'm going to post it online and have people have access to this report. My main reason of being here tonight is to bring it to your attention and ask you for the well-being of Laramie residents, especially those that can't take their dogs out of city limits, people with disabilities, people who work a lot, students who work and study. I meet a lot of people at the dog park because I bring mines for socializing. It's extremely important. If we want to create a healthy community, we should make this a priority. And I know Mr. Bork is concerned about funding. My point is, we'll raise the money. You help us find a location and support this, we'll raise the money. As an example, the Laramie County Animal Shelter had what they call the fur ball on Saturday, this past Saturday, and one night they raised $213,000 for the renovation of their animal shelter. We can do it, we just need the official backing. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We'll continue with this conversation going forward.
Okay, thank you, Murav. Any other further public comment on non-agenda item? Okay, then We will go on to consideration of changes in the agenda. Is there any public request to remove a consent agenda item and place it on the regular agenda? I see none. Vice Mayor, would you like to motion that the agenda be set?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the agenda be set as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion by Richardson, second by O'Doherty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes, City Clerk. We have no proclamations, no public hearings tonight, and we'll go on to announcements. City Manager.
Honorable Mayor, we have 4 announcements tonight, 2 from Director of Community Economic Development Director Derek Taney, and then 2 on monthly staff recognitions. So we'll let Derek Taney go first.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Just a couple quick items. First off, this Saturday, we have the Albany County Home Show that will be at the Ice and Event Center from 9 to 3. It's a free event. I'm plugging it here because the Code Administration Division will be there to answer questions, hand out information on building codes and different requirements. We also have some sweet safety glasses that we got that we'll be handing out along with our pencils that everyone loved last year. So get there early if you want to get one of those. But it's a great time just to kind of sit down and talk with one of our inspectors. We'll have different ones there throughout the day, so if you can attend, it's a good event. There's a lot of other community partners there, so it's a good time to see kind of what's going on in this community, but also to see what also is going on in terms of like building construction and options for getting everything done from your roof to a house being built. So secondly, wanted to let everybody know that the community cleanup days kicked off this last Saturday. It was a very well-attended event. I want to thank just my staff, which included both Robin Beatty and Ray Sandoval there. They were primarily there kind of from my office, but also Owen and Brennan from the city manager's office there. Owen's here, so I want to thank them too. They kind of manned the tables during that Saturday, and we're able to check people in on our volunteer software, get them signed up for a t-shirt, as well as a location in the community for cleanup. Now, just note, Saturday was not your only day to clean up. Really, it's not cleanup, it's cleanup days, plural. And so we're still doing cleanup days from April 18th to May 4th. If you want to sign up using our volunteer software, you can do that, and we'll connect you with a location to do cleanup within our community. If you don't want to do that, or you need some help with the software, you can contact our office. You'll end up talking with Ray, and Ray will kind of walk you through the steps. 721-5285 is his phone number, and he's happy to kind of help you get a place, find a place, whether it's you as an individual, your family, or an organization within the community. I want to point out, we did too also have some sponsors this year. I think it's great that we've had both the Laramie Beautification Committee help sponsor this, ARP of Wyoming, as well as our rec center hosting our community cleanup kickoff event this last Saturday, and the University of Wyoming SLICE office, so the Service Leadership and Community Engagement office. And so it's a great event. We do this every year. We have so many volunteer hours, and it's such a big deal for our community, kind of getting us spruced up for summer. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or contact Ray Sandoval, 721-5285. So.
Councilor O'Doherty.
I just want to make a comment on the volunteer site. It's very funny, like describing the different places to clean up. I don't know who the witty one is, if that's, anyway, it's not, it's Ray. It's very, so, you know, that'll get you inspired because they're very witty.
We try to keep it a little bit lighthearted, so, but yes. All right.
City Manager Feaser.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council. We have two rockstar announcements tonight because we missed one the last time that we were available. We'll start with Management Analyst Owen Schilt, and it's really a pleasure to be here to recognize Owen because I've had a chance to work with him since he came to us as an intern from the Honors College. But Owen came to us from Colorado to the University of Wyoming, graduated from the Honors College with a degree in political science and communications. For anybody that's worked with Owen, he's creative, he's energetic, he meets the timelines, he gets his stuff done, and he's cognizant and compassionate about everything he does, which is really important. When I look back on him, I hope that when I was a young employee of his age that I had those same skills, and I believe that it's the same. And when I talk to Brandon and Owen especially, I let them know that I believe that they're the future of municipal government. If they stay with what they're doing and learn what they've got going on, I can see these two young men really becoming leaders in whatever community they land in, or if they stay with Laramie for a long time. Owen is got his mom and dad and one sister, I believe. Is that correct? And he loves things. He loves to go hiking. He's working on doing the 14ers. He likes to go down to Nebraska, and he's been to the outdoor volleyball games and football games and basketball games. We won't hold where he comes from or where he goes to against him because he's here now. So we sure do love that. But one of the best stories I have is I think it was one Halloween, and he was doing some gaming, and he showed up the next day with a black eye, and I'm like, what happened? Well, he was going upstairs in his costume and had his hands full and tripped on his costume, his ghost costume, and actually hit his eye or his nose right on the stair tread. But Owen's joy to work with. He's a pleasure. He's a great leader. He's improved our communication, our social and digital presence, and he deserves a big round of applause for what he does for us.
Owen, would you like to say anything?
What Todd kindly left out of that story about the black eye was that I had the choice to stop myself, but I had a beer and a board game in my hand. So that's where that came from. But
A wise man.
thank you guys so much for recognizing me tonight. And I'd feel remiss if I didn't thank Janine Jordan, who's the city manager at Casper now, and Jane Pierce, who's no longer on council, who actually were on the hiring panel for me as looking at taking me as an intern from the Honors College. So that really set me on my trajectory to be where I am now. And however much Todd kids, I want to be here for a long time. So I don't plan on going anywhere. But like I said, thank you for having me tonight.
Can we get a photo with you? Come on up.
I'll stay behind. Not a problem.
Congratulations. That's great. So you just stand and then we'll get around you.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you up here. We should Photoshop that. We should Photoshop that.
All right. And city manager, I think we have some more rock stars.
We do, Mayor. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Aaron Thompson, Tommy Jansen, and Tanner Lee. We received a heartwarming letter of gratitude from somebody that received care from these three gentlemen. And for me, what this exemplifies is the professionalism, the care, and the compassion that folks that are in that first responder industry that constantly get hit by seeing all the worst things, that they maintain that. And it just means so much that these guys were able to do it. I'm going to turn it over to Dan Johnson here, and I'll hit a little bit of highlights. When you look at the stories of these three gentlemen and how they made it to Laramie, you think about Tanner, who lost a bet and ended up in Laramie and then ran into a firefighter and got encouraged to join. And then Tommy, who had his father, I believe, was a firefighter and won a mustache competition and beat another firefighter and decided to come into the firefighting. Or Aaron, who had a terrible cup of coffee with a firefighter named Scoop, which is beyond me. I'm not sure who that might have been, but they're fantastic stories. But, you know, these guys, the teamwork, the compassion, the professionalism that they have is really the reason they did be recognized tonight. And I'll turn it over to Dan Johnson for some more comments.
Chief Johnson.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking some time out of your meeting to recognize 3 of our firefighters tonight. It means a lot. Their service and their actions on that day, they show the dedication. They show the dedication our whole department has for the public we serve. They serve our community with honor, and I'm very, very proud of them. So I'd like to invite them, and I appreciate their family showing up too. So. We're missing one. We have Tommy and Aaron here, and Tanner could not make it. So you guys say anything you want to say?
Thanks for the award. Truly just doing our job, so it was, I guess, I don't know what else to say.
I'll say this first and foremost. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Thank you for your service here as well. It's easy to rise to the occasion for these types of calls when that is the culture of our department. And I would be remiss to not acknowledge Chief Johnson and Mr. Gus Stoneham, Shift Commander Stoneham, for the culture that they've provided and the leadership that they have provided for the department. So it's easy to just follow their role model, follow them as role models. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And would you join us for a photo?
Sure. Thank you.
I apologize for my harassment.
I love these recognition ceremonies. It's so heartwarming to see the team that we have that make up the city staff. Councilors, any disclosures and/or conflicts? Seeing none. Vice Mayor, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
I have a motion from Richardson, second from Newman. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill. Absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 10 is a newly added piece called the Mayor's Announcements. And my announcement for this evening is I would like to remind everybody that we have the special election for the special purpose excise tax. This will be our six penny renewal since 1989. And this tax provides capital projects that help support the development of our city and the maintenance of our infrastructure. And oftentimes, some of the monies that we receive through the special purpose tax are used to leverage match funds and bring in other monies from grants and things. So that's not necessarily the only amount, but by having that, it allows us to leverage that for grants and to continue to keep our city upgraded and in good condition. So I would encourage everybody on May the 5th to vote. Next, we will move on to the regular agenda. Director Bork first, I need a motion from Newman.
I move that the City Council approve the contract between the City of Laramie, Wyoming and Fremont Electric, Inc. for electrical services at city-owned facilities and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion from Newman, second from O'Doherty. Director Bork, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for being here tonight, and I want to echo everybody else's comments of thank you for your service as well. The motion before you tonight is something that we have done kind of infrequently, and I want to start bringing back on our service contracts. We have electrical service, elevator service, plumbing service, HVAC service, and we've had contracts in the past, but it's kind of been off and on. So this first one that's coming before you is for electrical services. We did a public RFQ process and solicited for contractors that can provide both repairs and emergency service, for things that pop up around our multiple, almost 30 facilities that we've got in the city's inventory. We did receive 3 responses. We considered the first 2 really non-responsive based on our needs. One was out of Green River and is really too far away to be able to respond quickly when we have something major, multiple somethings major. The second one was we deemed probably too small for some of our larger projects that we have that pop up. Maybe not on a regular basis, but we want consistency, and we were looking for a multi-year contract with some of that consistency. So the last respondent was Fremont Electric. They have been the electrical contractor that we have used most regularly, at least in the past several years. They've been very wonderful to work with, and so staff recommends that we award the contract to Fremont Electric for an initial 3-year term with 2 one-year renewal options at the end. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director. Councilors, any questions for Director Bork? Thank you. Oh,
sorry.
Vice Mayor.
Sorry, Director Bork, can you point me, I'm just realizing I don't have the number amount down. Can you point me to what that would be per year?
It's not a yearly dollar amount.
It's just on call
it's on call
okay,
out.
perfect.
Yeah,
I just saw that the elevator one was
the elevator
amount.
is a fixed, and we'll get to that one next. But this one is it's an hourly based on whether it's normal hours or after hours.
Okay,
calls.
perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes,
I wanted to make sure I was straight on that.
Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Bork. And that rate is correct, the 130 during hours and 195.
Honorable Mayor, through you, yes, that is correct.
Further questions? All right. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? All right. Seeing none, back to council for any comments. Oh, Councilor O'Doherty.
I just want to say I'm very comfortable with Fremont Electric. They've been in Laramie a long time, and they have a good reputation among contractors.
They just did my whole house. Whoa. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo those sentiments. They have a fantastic reputation, do good work, and I'm glad we kept it local.
Yeah,
for
me
that
too.
reason, and also because when we need them, we need them. And I know they'll be there, so thank you.
Good. Any other comments, councilors? City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed.
Aye.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Hill absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Councilor Freed, item 11B.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the City Council approve the contract between the City of Laramie, Wyoming and Cone, Inc. for professional services and maintenance of elevators at city-owned facilities and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Freed and a second by Richardson. Director Bork.
Good evening again, Mayor and council members. Yes, it is Cone, and very similar to the last action that I was asking for. We put out a public bid process to receive submissions for elevator services for the several elevators that we've got within our inventory, and we again had 3 responses. This one was a little different. We wound up finding all 3 of them able to comply. One of them was an out-of-state company, and the other just didn't score as high on kind of working on similar types of facilities. And so staff recommends Cone Inc. to be our elevator repair contractor for the next several years. They have been the company that's been working on our elevators at least for the past several years. But the contract had expired about a year ago, so this is really just kind of renewing what we already had. And so staff recommends Cone Inc. to be the electrical contractor. Elevator contractor, sorry.
Thank you.
And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilors, questions for Director Bork? Councilor O'Doherty.
Can you tell us the locations of the elevators? I thought we just had 2.
Oh, of course you were going to ask that, and I don't have that in front of me. I apologize, Mayor.
The Rec Center, City Hall, Annex, the MOC, and Fire Station 3.
Annex, okay.
Yes.
Further questions? Thank you, Director Bork.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, back to council. Final comments, Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. I just know that it's Cone because my cousin has been their Denver sales rep since college, so hopefully that gets her up to Laramie.
Further comments? City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Freed.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Bowling.
Aye.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Hill absent. Richardson.
Aye.
Cumby.
Aye.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. Item C, Councilor Bowling. 11C.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2121, amending multiple sections within Laramie's Municipal Code, Chapter 1.5, for the purposes of updating, amending, adding, and deleting select sections of the ICC 2024 code within City Code, and as recommended by the Planning Commission on first reading in accordance with finding of fact and conclusions of law.
Who was it? Okay. I have a motion from Bowling and a second from Newman. Director Teeney. Oh. Good evening.
Mayor, council members, again, thank you for taking your time to hear this text amendment out. As a reminder, I was just going to some of you weren't here, so I was just going to run through real quickly. Back in December, we had held a meeting with our local contractors. We invited quite a few of them. We had a pretty good turnout, I felt like, and we went through mostly code changes. We did send out some prior paperwork on if people wanted to submit those code changes or ideas to us that they could, just so we would have time to go through them. We did have a couple come through, and we had a work session on this, as it was mentioned too, that we did go to Planning Commission on this as well. So without further ado, I'll kind of jump into it, and if you have any questions throughout, just please let me know.
Okay, thank you, Lucas. Counselor, questions?
Okay.
All right.
First one is Section 152410A, which goes through our residential code, specifically on single-family and two-family and townhouse sprinkler systems. So what we are amending out on this is currently it states that they shall be required in those, and we have not been doing that for a lot of years. It was one that was suggested we don't follow, and we are just going through and making those changes. So this would not require, you still have the option to, that's why we have the may in there. You still have the option to install those in your house if you want. I'm sure our fire department would not be against that if people want to start installing those in every single house in town. So that's kind of a breakdown of that one. And it's really just a code cleanup for the most part for us. The second one goes into any exhaust or ventilation that goes to the outside, and we had discussed a little bit about getting rid of that code, and it was brought to my attention if we had any other options to bring those up, and I did do the research on those. And to be honest, I didn't find much on it. So what we've done, instead of completely removing it, is moving to the largest option, which would be a 1/2 inch size on those. So 1/2 inch opening on those is kind of what we're moving to. It still stays within code, but it kind of gives us the biggest opening that we can, and hopefully what we'll do is keep an eye on those things, kind of keep in contact with the contractors and find out from them if they're running into any of those issues down the road with freezing, or if we're still having problems, maybe if we're not getting exhaust out like we should because of that. We can dive into that further to maybe we can find a different option for it down the road. Next code section talks about egress window openings. This was brought up more so because we have a lot of rentals in town, and people installing egress windows, and where we're wanting to make it clear is if we're taking an existing opening or a new opening, and it's going to be you're gonna widen that existing opening, or create a new one that if it's over 2 feet, we would have to require engineering on that. So it was brought up in Planning Commission that they felt like maybe existing openings was one that we shouldn't have to pay for. I just want to make it clear that if it's an existing opening that you're making wider, that would be required. If it's a new opening, that would be required. But if it's an existing opening that's there, that you're just maybe lowering, that is not required in there. So it's just for those specific ones that would be making that opening bigger, that would require lintels on those. The next one, or a couple of...
Lucas,
yes,
your last statement, it would require engineering.
Correct.
To come in and check for the structural integrity of what they're going to do.
Mayor,
okay,
that's correct, yes.
Thank you.
The next few have to do with energy code. The first one has to do with a table out of the energy code, specifically dealing with mostly new single families. We discussed in our work session that what we're running into is either you have to follow the code prescriptively, which means you have to do it to the letter, or you can provide something called a res check. It's a free program, but what we're finding in this res check is as we're adopting the new code sections, it's getting more and more strict, and it's getting harder and harder for people to be able to follow those without the cost going, crazy high, that's costing them to where they can't build a structure. So what we're offering is an alternative. So you can still submit the res check if that's something you choose to do. The alternative is we've created another table that follows the table that they have, but we've made a few changes. The big one is in-wall cap, so in-wall insulation. So that could be bats, it could be spray foam. And what we've done and what we've seen in the past is with those res checks is what they end up using is an R21 to still meet the res check requirements. So what we've done is put that as one of our requirements as an alternative to what is required is an R30. And the big piece with that I brought up before was if you want to put an R30 in a 2x6 wall, you would have to do spray foam, and it is a costly fee that a lot of people would rather avoid. So this is an alternative that could give, one, an option to avoid the res check, and two, it would speed up our process in plan review. That is kind of a contention with our plan review, is this res check in the beginning was a pretty simple program. Now it's become a lot more involved. People are submitting them incorrectly. We have to request more information from them. So this, I feel like, is a good alternative to use in lieu of that.
Councilor O'Doherty.
Miss Insulation. So would a new homeowner know, energy is just going to keep getting more expensive. So would a new homeowner know that we went with the lower R value, or they're just going to assume? I know there are a lot of houses in town that cost hundreds of dollars a month to heat with electricity. So I don't know if they probably don't care, but do they know? Would a contractor have to tell them what the R value is?
Mayor, through you, potentially. I mean, I'll be honest, it's pretty rare that we get, and maybe this isn't what you're asking, it's pretty rare that we get a homeowner that will submit their own permit for a house.
I mean the buyer.
Yes, so the contractor, when they submit that, what happens is when we do a final, they have a document that states all of the R values in the house at the end. So that's attic, walls, all of those.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Continue.
Thank you. So the next one we're going through talks about another energy code requirement, and this is also more of a cleanup one for us. So a couple code cycles, probably 4 back, it was brought forward to require blower door tests. So this is just a alternative used where you can test how tight your house is for air quality or for air. And we have changed, as far as I know, when this was adopted or when it was brought forward, it was not adopted. It's just never been in our city code. So we are also similar to the res check. You can still use that as an option, but we are not requiring it. We're changing that to as you may use it. The next one has to do with, let me just find myself here. So the next one has to do with, even though it's a small code change, has to do with fireplaces. And as I brought up before, it is a requirement now through energy code that a fireplace cannot be operated with a pilot light. So now you would have to, anytime you want to use your fireplace through energy code, you would have to fire that up each time. So we are choosing to remove that. If people want to still have a pilot light, that is their option. From what I've read and done a little digging on, the cost isn't worth the headache of having to fire that up every single time you want to use your fireplace.
So that was implemented for cost control and not safety?
Mayor, no, it was more of an energy usage thing. So
I see.
it could be cost, yeah, but it was an energy.
But energy efficiency?
Correct.
Okay.
Next one also has to do with energy. So this one talks about lighting controls or lighting in general. This one is saying that lighting controls have to be either an automatic timer or have to be an automatic shut-off. So basically, if you go into your house and you're sitting in your living room and the lights shut off, that's what the automatic timer or automatic shut-off would do. So we want a couple things. One, the cost of an automatic dimmer or timer, an automatic shut-off is a lot more than just a simple switch. So we feel like for what they're wanting to use, I get the energy piece of it, right? If every light shuts off behind your teenage kid, your bill may go down. I understand that, but the cost up front on that is pretty large. One I did skip through was our section on lighting, and that has to do with currently energy code requires LED lights only. So we are removing that. If you choose to put in LED, or if you choose to put in just CFL lighting, that is your choice. Again, from what I've read, it's an energy thing. I have done a few deep dives on why, and from what I can see, there are jurisdictions that have removed it. It seems like in older communities, or people have with LED lighting can get migraines, they can get headaches from those high efficacy lights, and this is just giving the homeowner the opportunity or the option to choose one or the other. The next one has to deal with plumbing code. We discussed it previously. We live in a very cold climate. Even though the winter this year didn't reflect it, we live in a cold climate. And the current plumbing code talks about shower pans, specifically ones that are built. And it requires those to be water tested. And in the middle of winter, water test is not a good idea, especially because the water, after they're done testing it, has to go down the drain, which could cause leaks and breaks in the pipe and could be costly. So we are removing that and just strictly going with an air test that we have done in the past. This next one is also plumbing. It deals with mostly the trim part of it, so the end after your house has been plumbed, or you've installed a new sink, or you're taking out an old trap underneath your sink, and homeowners or even contractors have chosen to use these corrugated or accordion pipes, and the code requires that all of those interior on those pipes have to be impervious. They have to be smooth, and we've seen those to be not. So we are removing, or we are saying that we would not want to see those used in our jurisdiction because of, we get debris packed in there. It's more than likely sitting in your trap, and then it's going to plug up and cause more issues. The last one I've got here has to do with, it's more so plan review code that we are seeing that could be possibly or has been hangups in the past for mostly new single families. So currently, code says that smoke alarms be installed in each sleeping area and outside of each sleeping area. What we're seeing a lot of new homes come in is not just bedrooms, but they've got dens, they've got offices, those types of things that what we're saying is if those types of rooms already have an existing egress window to potentially be turned into a bedroom, that we would just require those rooms to also be installed with a smoke alarm. That way, if you want to have somebody sleep in there, it's already set up and ready to go. We would just require those, and in our plan review, we wouldn't have the confusion of, are you going to use this for a sleeping room? We see that you've got an egress window in there already, and that way we just know that, and we can put in our comments, moving forward, if this passes, that this would require smoke alarm, then there's no issues moving forward. That being said, I'm open to any comments or questions.
Thank you, Lucas. Councilors, any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this agenda item? Oh, yes, we have one online.
Mayor, we have Brett Glass online.
Okay. You are now in the room, Mr. Glass, thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of council. Many of the items here are really good, but I'm concerned about two of them. The first one is the item which creates an additional expense and requires an expensive engineer to show up before you can put an egress window in your basement. The council hasn't acted on the recommendations of some of city staff regarding the requirements for egress windows and making it possible to do things like use a ladder for egress, and now is imposing a still greater requirement that's going to make it still more expensive to install one. I'd like you to please consider carefully whether you really want to do this, because again, we want housing to be affordable, and we certainly don't want to unduly increase the expense of doing something to improve safety. The second item that concerns me here has to do with the plumbing restrictions that were just mentioned. There'd be a restriction on using the flexible sort of connector or trap that you use to connect a sink drain. Unfortunately, in a lot of existing houses, and especially when you do renovations, those little accordion-shaped pipes, while they're not ideal, are just a godsend, because otherwise it's very difficult to get things connected. Also, they're already used in a lot of houses, and if you've got to replace them, you should be able to. So those two items, I'm concerned, while some of the others definitely decrease the maintenance expenses and eliminate unnecessary restrictions, I'd urge you to look at those and see if you really want to do them, because again, they'll increase the cost of housing, they'll increase the difficulty of maintaining housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on this agenda item? Back to council for comments. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I was able to attend that meeting in December, and I appreciate Lucas Witt and the staff putting it together, and I hope we see more of those. To me, it just shows that you're listening to the contractors, and they're the boots on the ground. So, and it's the comments that they're hearing from their customers. So, thank you very much.
Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Witt, for the presentation and bringing this back to us. And, I think there's plenty of things in the code, and it's really nice to hear that you guys look at this very often and you listen to public feedback and, new updates and take that into consideration. And I think some of these safety things are just super crucial, and I appreciate you guys looking into it, so thank you.
Councilor Newman.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Yes, either one.
So the way I read the code, P2701.1, which is the plumbing one, it already states in there that the pipes have to be smooth, right? And then we're just clarifying that the accordion style. So it already says that the pipes have to be smooth. We're just clarifying that we can't use the other one, right?
Mayor, through you, yes, that's true. Yes.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Comments?
Oh, we got a comment here.
Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. I want to echo all the work that went into this. This looks like quite a lot. And I know that the egress issue has not been dropped, but it sounds as though there are quite a few places in code that it will have to be looked at and updated. And so I appreciate city staff continuing to work on that and continuing to look for solutions. Even though they're not quite here yet, we just have to be a little more patient as they're working on it. So thank you.
And I just, Lucas, want to thank you and the planning department for all the work you've done to reach out to contractors and to engage and have those discussions and then make these changes. And I will say that I am in the middle of a massive renovation of my house and have hit on just about all of these. It's been interesting. My wish list was too long. All right. City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Bowling,
Aye.
Freed,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Shumway,
Yes.
Vigil, absent, Richardson,
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. Item 11D, Councilor O'Doherty.
I move to deny original ordinance number 2122 approving and authorizing the de-annexation of approximately 79.82 acres of property located in the city of Laramie on the first reading in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
I have a motion from O'Doherty, second from Freed. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of council. The item before you this evening is a request for the de-annexation of approximately 80 acres of land located generally north of Northview Street and east of 30th Street. Staff is recommending denial of the request, and I'll walk you through the key factors supporting that recommendation. So first of all, this has pretty recently been annexed into the city. If you remember, City Planning Commission recommended approval of this in October of 2023 to this body that ultimately passed the annexation, the zoning, and the preliminary plat and the comprehensive plan amendment that all went together with this, what was known as the West Slope subdivision. So that was December of 2023 that this body brought this 80 acres into the city. So at that time, the city council approved a preliminary plat with approximately 243 lots of varying sizes, varying housing types. It goes from single family all the way to a multi-family housing component on that property. So it's a nice mix that is approved with the preliminary plat that those do last 5 years. So at any time, between now and December of 2028, the applicant or subsequent developer could develop according to this preliminary plat, which I'll get into a little bit later as well. So the applicant's now requesting to reverse that action and return the property to Albany County. So I just want to quickly say there is a figure in the packet this evening that shows the applicant originally owned the tract of land, the 5-acre piece on 30th Street, which was forcibly annexed because it would have been completely surrounded by that 75 acres, part of that section that would enclose it. So the applicant did buy the property post-annexation. So the applicant bought the property when it was city property, annexed, zoned, everything I just mentioned that happened in December 2023. So from a statutory standpoint, state statute's very clear on the procedure to get to this point as far as what the petitioner needs to do, what kind of notice needs to be filed, what needs to be done with the county commissioners, which all of that has been done. So they've done all they need to get to this point. However, it is this body's discretion to de-annex property that is within the municipal boundary now. And that there is a large amount of discretion that is available. There's not a list of 5 criteria that I can list for you this evening to say it meets this, it meets this. State statute leaves it pretty open-ended. So what we have to fall back on is preliminary plans that support this area as a higher density residential area, that supports it being developed to city standards. And that's what my next few points have to do with. With respect to our adopted comprehensive plan and our adopted Laramie area growth plan, this property has been clearly identified as appropriate for higher density development. The future land use map was amended when it was annexed to support a mix of residential densities, and the growth area plan specifically identifies this location specifically as suitable for urban expansion due to its proximity to existing development and infrastructure. And I do want to say, so the preliminary plat has been passed, 243 lots. Of those, the original developer had an idea to phase this development. The first phase, 109 lots, could be supported already with the sanitary sewer system in Reynolds. And water is on Northview Street already. So this played a big role with our Public Works and Engineering Department's recommendation of approval of this preliminary plat. So 109 of those 243 original lots can be served very readily into what's available there. The remaining lots would need to go north to what's eventually going to be built, the north outfall line, which is still being designed, and there's easement. There's easements that still need to be procured to get that project going, but it is anticipated in the near term. So approval of a de-annexation like this would remove the property from the city, revert it to county zoning, which, as we all know, the development standards in the county are far less what they are in the city. Much larger lots could be anticipated, septic systems, so forth, residential design standards. And if you've been on Northview Street, it is a city subdivision through and through, and right across the street is what we're talking about here. And the housing study and action plan also identifies the need for 4,100 housing units. I think we all know this number by heart, but in approving this annexation in 2023, this was a big point that I think helped this body to approve it, was the need for housing, this being close to existing infrastructure, and so forth. So yeah, the Thrive Laramie plan is another plan that really hammers home the need for housing availability of different types, which this preliminary plat promises. I just want to talk quickly about some precedent which came up at our Planning Commission meeting last week, where we did discuss the Fox Run Golf Course out on 230, which is a good example of the most recent, we're talking 2013 here, the most recent example of a de-annexation of this size. It was ultimately de-annexed, as you all know. However, we as staff truly believe we're talking apples and oranges here, given that we're a mile and a half from connecting to city infrastructure out at Fox Run versus here, where phase one is adjacent to city infrastructure. So just a little history there. We've had 2 other de-annexations, but requests since then. Both were denied, but they were for much smaller. They were for a lot on McHugh, which I believe this body may or may not have been a part of. That was only in 2022, but less, maybe it was 5 acres, but nothing to this scale. So the petition itself, which is in your packet, states the lack of perceived benefit from inclusion of the city as a reason for de-annexation. So I just want to quickly address those concerns, because truly under city code, the applicant owning 2 parcels of land, there's still 2 separate tracts of land out there, could develop a single-family home on both. So it is still possible. The question of a livestock operation up there, also grazing, it's also possible under city ordinance, given our livestock ordinance. We do have provisions in there for livestock that is going to be consumed by the owner. So I could see if they truly wanted to go that route, which I wish Marav was still here to tell us if that was adequate grazing land up there, but regardless of that, they would be able to apply for a variance from that personal consumption clause, which then it opens you up to, we did the math, about 300 head that you could run out there with the requirement of a 1/4 acre per livestock unit. We haven't really talked that. I just wanted to address that. I believe the applicant may bring that up. So again, denial of the request, so keeping it within the city, does not preclude its development. It's still able to be developed. A single-family home is still able to be developed up there to city standards, which means connecting to water and sewer. But a property that size, you don't even need to pave the driveway, right? We have provisions for these giant lots, which do help the property owner out as well to establish a rural setting if they have that much land within the setting or within the city. So yeah, I think I've listed a couple of plans, but just to summarize, Quest is not consistent with plans we have adopted and established, including the comprehensive plan, the housing study and action plan, the growth area plan. So in conclusion, while the application is eligible for consideration, staff finds that the request conflicts with plans we have in place, prior approvals, which happened in 2023, as well as the city's long-term growth strategy. So Planning Commission recommended denial of this, that this body deny this, vote of 3-1 at their meeting last week. So I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Philip. Councilors, questions? Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Gabathuller. A couple questions, and maybe I'll just start with one and see if other council members have any. But, for the applicant of this petition, I think the 7 statements or beliefs of why this should be de-annexed. I'm just curious at number 7, and you kind of touched on it, but if you wouldn't mind maybe touching that a little more. It says the lack of sufficient public infrastructure, city utility services does not coincide with the urban growth area. Just knowing that it's really close to the other city blocks and the utilities that it could, be a part of. Is that what that's hitting on your perspective, or, are there significant challenges if this is still within the city limits to connect to all those utilities and services?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to Councilor Freed. So a development this size is certainly going to have public improvements that are going to happen on the front end that are going to be a major cost to development. So being adjacent to, existing water on Northview, being able to use the Reynolds, the main artery of the sanitary sewer on Reynolds is certainly going to help, but there is substantial cost to any developer that's going to pursue this plan. So there will certainly be a cost, but it's staff's perspective that that hasn't been presented in a manner that makes sense to us. The applicant has stated it doesn't pencil out. Well, the $300,000 worth of engineering work went into this, according to the original owner who worked with AVI out of Cheyenne. So, they throw that number around. So that addresses these connections and what's required public improvement wise. So we haven't seen anything to the contrary that truly shows that this does not pencil out. And even if it did, there is an option to redesign this 80 acres to phase it in a different way, different layout, different densities, that maybe would work. So I don't think that that's a good argument. And
thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councilor O'Doherty?
It's a comment.
A comment, okay. Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple more, I guess, just about that preliminary plating process. And so if this stays within city limits and the landowner doesn't like how it was platted, there is a process to work with planning commission or the planning department to find a new plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Newman, did you have your hand out or you were just stretching?
I would like to open it up for the applicant to come tell us whatever they have to talk about before I have questions, if we could.
Good evening. If you could state your name for the record.
Sure. Mayor Cumbie, members of the council, my name is Carson Engelskirger, and I'm the owner of these 2 lots requesting de-annexation. If you don't mind, I'd just like to talk a little bit about how we got to this point and some of the challenges we're facing and our thoughts going forward on this. I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to try to keep them concise here for everybody's time. So I guess this all started when we bought 2 city lots out on the ridge on Northview there, wanted to build our dream home. Had them come up and spent a lot of time trying to make that work. Ended up purchasing those 2 lots, started looking at expenses for building what we wanted there, realized it was quite expensive, and being in the city had its challenges with expense as well. Ironically, behind us was 5 acres in the county. We figured we could build the same house there cheaper and have more options for ag use with barns, shops, things like that. So at a significant cost, we purchased that 5 acres behind or adjacent to the 2 lots that we bought up there. once we purchased it, we went through planning and design, hired an architect, spent money doing that, and the time, septics, well estimates, getting all those things, and then shortly thereafter, we were notified that we were going to be annexed into the city at that point. Kind of a rough day, to be honest with you, when you spend that time and money and have those dreams, and then you're forcibly annexed into the city. But being what it was, we had to go with the flow at that point. So met with the city to talk options. It was apparent, like, we had no options. You will be annexed, and that's what's going to happen. And I get it. There's things that go with that, but at that point, then we spent more money, and we worked with the engineering firm to try to get favorable conditions for our 5-acre lot up there that was going to surround us with multifamily R2, R3 housing. At that point, having a dream home didn't really seem iconic to us up on the ridge where we'd wanted. So tried to, at that point, make the most of a bad situation in our minds. And so we just tried to get some favorable conditions, mainly with the zoning, some of the approaches, things like that. They did provide you a letter of support that I signed, and so I just want to address that at this point. It is a letter of support. It was provided to me in a form letter by the planning office asking for a letter of support. This is my toned down version that is significantly less enthusiastic for the annexation than originally presented. I think it's important to note as well that while I sent this back, the body of the email that this attachment was part of specifically stated I was not fully supportive of this process. And I would wish nobody to have to go through this in their life, because it is truly a painstaking and just a horrible process. And again, to a degree it's life, but at the same time, somebody's a loser on that one, and that was us. So anyway, moving forward, this property came up for sale, and we had already had the 2 lots up there. We had our 5-acre lot. Now this came up for sale. Whether it was annexed or de-annexed, we would have purchased it anyway, just to protect our investment up there. We have a significant stake up there, and so at this point, I don't need more R2, R3, or whatever, because, you know, maybe we could build what we wanted to up there and enjoy it in the manner that we wanted to. So we purchased the land. I guess looking back, to me, and this was kind of discussed earlier, but I think it was a little bit premature on the annexation of everything. There's a lot of city services that aren't there. The sewer line, for part of it, it could be accessed through Northview and down through Reynolds, but they had limited the amount, and so only a small portion could actually go down through Reynolds, because there's just not enough capacity in the system there. The requirement for the bulk of the property, just given the topography, was a multi-million-dollar lift station and infrastructure system to be put in by the developer, which at that point, I mean, I don't really know how realistic that is. But on top of that, you still have, I think it's close to 4 miles to the nearest sewer line on where all that would go that would have to be put in as well. And so significant cost, significant infrastructure lacking for the bulk of the property. Even if you could put in some at the front end, like, there's still a lot of time and a lot of resources that need to be devoted to have the rest of it actually be usable for the development purposes. I think at the same time, it is worth saying that, you know, the developer who had sold it to us was one of the biggest philanthropists in the area and also biggest developers in the region here, has done a lot in Laramie. He couldn't make it pencil out. Again, when we bought the land, our goal, and this kind of gets back to my, just a little side detour here, you know, my background is in natural resources, agriculture. I work with the Forest Service a lot in past jobs, Bureau of Land Management, state agencies, stakeholders. Doesn't really matter, but, you know, that idea of collaboration and coming together and working together for a common goal, or like having the give and take, I'm well versed in it, I get it. Kind of one of our hopes was that we could go to the city to say, hey, like, maybe we have some different ideas, we could do some things here, maybe a little bit differently. We spent a year and a half meeting with the city trying to come up with ideas on what we could do. There wasn't really a whole lot of give, we'll put it that way, and so that led us to where we're at today. I think it's correct. I mean, there was a lot of work that was done into this with the engineering, the design, everything. But at the end of the day, from our standpoint and from the developer prior to us, it's just not economical for the bulk of the property. So because we like the property and we want to enjoy it in a different manner, more of an agricultural use with livestock, barns, things like that. I'll go more into this in a minute, but yes, we are recognizing that we are leaving a significant amount of money on the table with the engineering and work that was done going into this. And that's just, that's probably a win at the end of the day for us if that's all it costs us at this point. So we're asking for you to approve it, our request for de-annexation. Just to touch on a couple of things that were mentioned previously. There's housing plans and ideas and things that are identified or supported. That's great, but these are non-binding documents, and at the end of the day, it's more like a wish list. Like, you have to have a plan, and I get that. But just because my property falls in that area doesn't mean that all of a sudden, I have to do that. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, who actually owns this land? Because when I sit back there and I listen to what is said and how I can't use my land in a certain way and it needs to stay in the city, even though everything's going to be way more expensive and way more cumbersome, like, that's the best use because in the future, this is where Laramie's going to go. To me, that just doesn't sit right with me. And I'm going to keep it at that. But I guess at the end of the day, that yes, under the current situation with the city, there's not going to be any development there. I can just tell you that right now. In the future, there's potential, but right now, like, we want to enjoy our land the way that we want. And so we were hoping to get cows up there. It's not fenced. It specifically states that barbed wire is prohibited within the city, so I guess I could probably apply for a variance or whatever that process would be. I could wait my 60 to 90 days, and then every time I want to build a loafing shed, I can do the same thing. And if I want to do a barn or a shop or a riding arena or a house or wells or septic, well, I guess I couldn't do septic, but what I'm saying is, like, every time I wanted to do something that's more conducive to being in the county, I have to come here, fill out a form, wait, come to the meetings, pay my fees, do whatever, and at the end of the day, I'm not guaranteed that that's where it's going to go. And so I'm here asking for the de-annexation. We want to use it in a different manner. I agree that maybe there are some things that could be done, but at this point, like, we can look at that stuff later, but for right now, like, this is how we want to enjoy our property, and that's, I guess, where I'm going to leave this for right now.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions? Councilor O'Doherty.
You said you worked for BLM. When I look up how many acres for a cow, it's like, no.
I've worked with BLM, with the Forest Service. Yes.
Anyway, it doesn't seem like a great place for a cattle operation just along a city street. Like, that just seems, and then the wind typically blows from the northwest. So blowing all the cattle smell to all of those houses on that street, that doesn't seem compatible. And so if you don't appreciate the city, why a lot that is right adjacent to a city street, which means any development there, chances are you'd want to connect to a city street. You're using the city from that point. You're not. We've had issues where people build in the county right next to the city and then want to use city streets that were not built for those kinds of things, like heavy equipment, farm equipment, things like that. So to me, it's not compatible. I mean, the lot is right next to other houses. It seems like if you want to do a cattle operation, you might want to move outside of Laramie rather than right adjacent to the city. I don't think it's going to make you very popular with the neighbors on Northview. You know, if you have, how many cattle are you talking about, may I ask?
So it's not a full-blown operation. We have several pieces that we lease and we rotate stuff around, and so depending on weather, like, we could rotate stuff up there. We also have a horse, focus on this as well. So those are the kinds of things, like, I'm not going to take this any further because obviously it's still in the city, but it's not going to be like 800 cattle sitting up there with a feedlot. But just to be clear, I mean, everything has to be accessed from somewhere. So just being where the lot is, yes, it's on the edge of the city, but like, that's just the nature of where it's located. I mean, there's a well there are corrals already, there's feeding areas. I mean, it actually was agricultural and used in that manner prior. And, you know, I don't anticipate going above and beyond that, but it would be something similar along those lines. I'm not out to be a bad neighbor. I mean, I would want to make something that was compatible with the area, that didn't stand out, but also allowed me to enjoy my land in the way that was, you know, within my rights, I guess, if that makes sense.
Councillor Newman?
I guess. The first one is kind of going along with what Councilor, how many head of cattle are we talking?
It's all dependent on the weather. Like, so it's not like a prime agricultural area for cattle like all year round, right? And so in
I raise cattle, I understand.
Yeah, so in the spring when we have good grass growth, like we could rotate stuff up there for a while and use it within reason, and then rotate off to another pasture. So it's all within reason. But again, like if the cattle, you know, if we could keep them down on other pastures, you know, we would be interested in still doing something more with like an equine or like a horse focus as well. So at the end of the day, it's all more of an agricultural focus. And so we haven't fleshed that out because I'm not going to let myself get excited again on something that we're not there yet.
My second question, I think you answered it. Oh, sorry, Mayor, could I ask it?
Follow up?
Sorry. My second question is, and I think you answered this, I just want to make sure that I understood it. No matter what happens tonight, right, no matter what happens going forward, because we have 3 readings on this, you're not going to build on this property. Is that correct?
The way things stand right now within the city, as it's presented right now with the current plat, there's no intention to.
Thank you.
Can I follow up on that real quick? Down the road, if there is, you know, the ability to do something like that, we would be open to exploring things with the city. But again, part of the condition on that would be that it would come out of the city in the first place. And then that would give us time to rework things down the road if we decided to go that route. So I'm not saying that we couldn't be part of the city or do things like that in the future, but I'm saying as it's at right now, it's not going to work, so.
Councillor Shumway?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question through you, Mayor. When you talked about the philanthropist, I'm assuming you're talking about Mr. Samuelson. His goal at one time was to say that he would develop 45th so that he could develop the lots up there into housing and whatever else. So I don't think you're the only one that had the idea to go up there to put in a home and other structures. I would guess that plans that include others besides you is going to be to develop this into more residential than it is going to be agricultural. So that's just a thought, and if I've got names wrong or, you know, the 45th wrong or whatever, just let me know.
Thank you. Further questions, councillors? Councillor O'Doherty?
This is a question for our staff.
Excuse me?
This is a question for Mr. Gabatuller.
Oh, okay. Mr. Gabatuller, a question for you. Thank you.
Yep.
So I understood you to say that the southern, about half of this property already is easily accessible to water and sewer on Northview, right? The southern half of this property?
Honorable Mayor, through you. So 109 lots, which isn't quite half of the 243 lots, are able to use Reynolds Street. So that's established, right? So they would still need to, you know, build the infrastructure to connect into presumably 30th Street to get down to Reynolds. I think it's all relative. To say it's easily done, I mean, that, right, nothing's easy, but it is there, and it was a condition of any final plat being approved based on this preliminary plat, that those improvements would be done. So yes, so the lower half, essentially, big picture, can be served with existing sewer and existing water, and we're not having to rely on the north outfall line, which may or may not get built in the near term. It certainly is in the works and in design, and easements are trying to be procured, but that's not there yet. Reynolds is, and a percentage of the preliminary plat can be served, yes.
Follow up?
I seem to recall a lot of infrastructure going in at Cirrus Sky Park. I see the big storm drains there. I assume that water and sewer are already installed up there, right? That seems about the same elevation as this lot.
So, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that is, the north outfall line is the sanitary sewer that would run along there. The North Tank project is in, and that water line runs to 3rd Street along asphalt.
And then,
Sorry, got a question.
I'll wait for my question. Go ahead.
Okay, you go for it if you've got yours first.
I just kind of wanted to clarify something. So, December 2023, the owner at the time requests annexation. So after we go through that process and do an amendment of the comprehensive plan and then the Laramie area growth plan, did the potential for that development, that phase 1, drive some of the upgrades that were done in sanitary sewer and to increase sewer capacity on Reynolds Street? Was that phase 1 part of the consideration when we did those infrastructure upgrades and improvements, that would be tying into that?
Honorable Mayor, to answer that, I think big picture, it is pointing north to new development, right? We have Cirrus Sky, we have, this property, there's also additional phases of Indian Heights. So I think, the Laramie Area Growth Plan highlighted that as well, as like, that's where we're projected to grow. So I wouldn't say that this project in particular drove any of that, because it's been in the works a lot longer than this project. As far as the north outfall line, North Tank.
Okay.
That's been a long time coming, yeah.
But it may have been a component of the whole big picture.
I don't want to speak for the original developer, but I think in discussions with AVI, with his engineering company, it certainly played a part with the anticipation of the North Tank and the outfall line to support the subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. And this question is for Mr. Engelskirger.
Thank you, sir.
And recognizing that this is your property, but I just want to understand where you're coming from. So if you could clarify for me, at one point you said you bought the property, the one that initially got forcibly annexed, because you had this vision of what you wanted to build and have this outcropping, and then you bought the newly annexed large piece that we're talking about tonight.
I can track 2 first, right? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. The small tract.
The small tract.
Is the first 2 that we're, okay.
Okay, so, and then you purchased the other one. I think you had said to be able to ensure that you could something along the lines of make sure that the vision that you had for your house and for that property and how you wanted to kind of live out, you could do it by having kind of that property. So when I hear that, it sounds like you didn't have any plans to develop this, which again, it's your property, so that's totally fine. But then it sounds like also, so I guess my question is, then were you actively trying to come to solutions for developing that property with the city staff? That's where I guess I don't understand what, or fully understand what happened next.
So to clarify, we purchased the land, one is to protect what we already had up on the top, and then additionally, we saw some opportunities on what we could do there. I think we're not, serial developers by nature, but I think when you buy something like that had that kind of engineering done, the work, we were familiar with the process. I think it's worth taking a look at that point, and so by default, you get pulled into that, and so we were open, like, hey, let's look at this, maybe we can change some things. We had talked about a couple concepts that we had. We had our representatives meet with the city several times, and we just couldn't come to terms. So, I mean, there could be 1,000 lots in there, but like, just because there's 1,000 lots doesn't mean that it's actually a feasible venture, I guess, is what I'm saying. So.
Follow up, Vice Mayor?
So this is a little bit, I guess, of where I'm struggling. I'm struggling a lot determining, like, thinking about all of the things with this, but did you have the conversations before you purchased this land with the city? I mean, to me, it feels like if you just saw that somebody said they couldn't pencil it out, and then but bought the land and then had the conversations, or did you have the conversations with the city first and then decide to buy the land?
No. So we bought the land because we wanted the land, like, regardless of, I mean, I don't care about a development going in or not.
Okay,
like, we
thank
wanted
you.
that land, so yeah.
Thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Councilors, other questions? Councilor O'Doherty?
I'm wondering about the possibility of splitting the difference, like if the north half and the south half were split, I would be cool with de-annexing the part that isn't directly adjacent to a street, a city street, two city streets that we're paying for. Like if you want to have your country home there, could you split the lot and de-annex the top half, the north half? Just throwing it out there.
Mayor Cumby, councilors. So, yeah, at the end of the day, like, I want to be level-headed about this. We've been in Laramie for a long time. We have rentals. Our kids go to school here. We enjoy the area as much as everyone else here does here. That is why, I am open to the idea of exploring something like that. But at this stage in the game, it needs to be de-annexed so that we can have our options open to do this, and we can assess on what would make sense if we wanted to pursue that. So I'm not saying that, I think you have a valid point on what you're saying, and I think it makes sense and there's merit there, and we would want to explore that, but I'm not going to do it from the position where we have to work with what's there. We already have to go back through and re-engineer things and redo stuff if we wanted to do it. So I'm not inclined to sit with it in the city. I want to be able to use it how we want to right now and then explore what makes sense for us to bring back in. So that's why I'm open to that, but only if we can de-annex first and then explore our options from there. So that's why I'd rather just, you guys can rule on the motion however you feel, but that's kind of where we're at and our side of things.
So.
Could I make a comment as well?
Yes.
Mayor Cumby, through you. So I just want to, procedurally, we couldn't split the difference because the legal description has been in the notices and all that. So it would need to be denied, and then a lot line adjustment would need to be done to possibly create a different configuration. And then just secondly, just want to be clear on, the 3 readings, you guys probably already know this, but if you deny it on first, then it doesn't go to 3 readings, just to be clear on that.
And if on this request it is denied, then we could try to see what we might work out. Another request could be made for de-annexation.
Yes.
Is that
correct?
Okay.
I mean, the applicant could adjust the lot boundary because he has 2 lots. You could change that line and annex it, or attempt to petition at de-annexing a different section, different parcel, essentially.
Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Gabathuller, correct me, you might have covered this, but just remind me, the infrastructure that runs along asphalt, is that city or county infrastructure?
It is, through you, Mayor, it is city infrastructure, the water line from the new tank, the north tank, that water line runs to 3rd, and we're working on designing the sewer, the sanitary sewer essentially up there. And it is both city, it's city infrastructure.
I'm just curious about something. I'm looking at the spaces around this lot. And is there potential that those spaces at some point would annex? I'm not sure what that property is.
It's Warren.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, it's anything, petition could be made. It's adjacent to city property now, so absolutely.
So potentially, they could get surrounded again.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question as far as creating an enclave again.
Do we have the potential here to create another enclave that by state statute, it must be annexed?
So the good thing, Honorable Mayor, about annexing is there is criteria that prevents that from happening.
Okay.
So we follow that as well as we can. So we would not, as staff, recommend annexing to create another situation like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Lockhart?
Thank you, Mayor, and this is for you, Philip. So if this is de-annexed, and maybe this has been covered and it's just a lot of information to take in, if they did build a home then on that tract 2, the small portion, would the sewer and all that need to be, would they have access to city utilities, or would they have to go to county, get a well? I mean, what's the process there, because it would be county property?
Honorable Mayor, through you, yes. So if it is de-annexed, then county standards apply, so they don't need to tie in. They can, I don't believe they're on the overlay, the Casper Aquifer Protection Zone there, so they could just, they could go well and septic, yeah.
Septic.
Okay. Any further questions? Well, then, let's go to public comment, and we'll come back to final comment. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? If you can state your name for the record, sir. Thank you.
Sean Moore, 10 Corthell, here in Laramie. I'm Mr. Engelskirger's, and Honorable Mayor, and council members, thank you for having us. I've been Mr. Engelskirger's representative. I sell real estate here in Laramie. I have for 25 years here in Laramie. And I actually helped him acquire this piece. I actually helped him acquire the 5-acre piece that he bought first, which was in the county at that time. I also sold him the 2 lots that were in the city in the Laramie Ridge 8th edition. And since the Engelskirgers had bought this, they had me work with the city, which Philip would agree. I've been down to see Philip multiple times over the last 18 months. The plat that Doug Samuelson had intended to do and annex that ground, it doesn't pencil out. I know Philip said there's 109 lots that you could have that could be serviced by Reynolds Street. Those lots, we couldn't sell those lots to make it profitable. And that's why Mr. Samuelson abandoned the plans and sold the ground. And so with Philip over the last 18 months, we've been trying to figure out a way to make it work. And Mr. Engelskircher has allowed me to work with the city to try to get this to work. But the biggest problems that we have is that north fallout line. I know that at the planning and zoning meeting last week, Mr. Philip, because I butchered your last name, sorry. But it's really probably about 8 to 12 acres, somewhere in there. And the reason is because the plat would be different. The type of plat that I feel that would be successful to sell and develop these lots aren't the lots that AVI and the city of Laramie worked with, which is fine, and that's what their idea was at the time. But the reason why Mr. Samuelson sold the land is because it was unfeasible. And so we thought about doing a little bit of different development, which I visited with Philip about for a while, and it really leaves about 10 to 12 acres. And so down the road, there is a possibility of the rest of this ground being developed. But that north sewer line, until that's in, it's not feasible at all. And even that sewer line that would run down Asphalt Lane and 3.5 miles to the sewer treatment plant, it's still a quarter mile away from the northwest section of this piece of ground, because Mr. Samuelson also owns another 80 acres north of this piece where those where he has his sheep down in that low spot. And really, the topography of the ground is what makes it hard, because right along Northview, you can access sewer. Water's not a problem. There's actually a sewer water line that goes through this property down where future Inca would go, and then down where future Cumulus would go. And Mr. Samuelson gave an easement to the city for that because he had this planned. But the problem is at the very northwest corner, you're going to have to put in, or the developer or Doug Samuelson was going to have to put in a sewer lift station, which would still be a quarter mile away from wherever the fallout line is going to be in asphalt. And so it's hard to say we're going to go in and we're going to develop 10 to 12 acres of this, because in development, a lot of your cost comes in the front end, purchasing the land and the engineering. And so if we move forward with that, and even with the revised plat, if it's 10 years, 15 years, or however many years, and Mr. Engelskircher decided to develop this, he's going to be held hostage until he's able to, until the city puts in that infrastructure where that sewer could go. So at this point, it's just not really feasible at this point.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
No.
Thank you, sir. Any further public comment?
Mayor, we have Brett Glass online.
Okay. Mr. Glass? Good evening.
Mayor, members of council, good evening. Yes, this is the item that I mainly came here tonight to comment on. You have before you a negative motion, a motion to deny. I'm not sure if you vote this down, if it equates to a motion to allow the de-annexation or not. You may want to consult your parliamentarian on this. But in any case, I guess, to be consistent with council's primary goal, probably its number one goal of creating some affordable housing in town and encouraging housing development, I would strongly urge you to allow the de-annexation of this property. As I've stated before council, if I were developing any kind of housing in the area, I would develop it outside of the city limits. The reason being that the Unified Development Code, which if you include everything that's incorporated in it, it has more than 1,000 pages to it, is just intractable. It makes affordable housing development very difficult. In this case, case, I think we should listen to Henry David Thoreau, who in his book Walden wrote, "Government never furthered any enterprise, but by the alacrity with which it got out of the way." I also think we should respect private property rights here, which is something that came up during your previous meeting. The owner has some ideas of what to do with the property. I think we should allow him to do it. So I think in this case, we really should let it go. We should allow the de-annexation. And again, I'm not sure if voting this down tonight, given that the motion was to deny, would allow that. But ultimately, I think we should permit the owner to de-annex. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Further public comment on this agenda item? Back to council for comments. I'll start with Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to vote in favor of the motion, which is to deny. And let me give you 3 reasons. First of all, I think that if we develop the 241 lots, which, could be way in the future, they have a city water and a city sewer system to it, which means that there's not going to be 240 wells dug, there's not going to be 240 septic systems or 50 septic systems or whatever. I just don't want any more septage, whether it's over the Casper Aquifer overlay or not. I want to protect our city water as much as we possibly can. And the other thing is, if we develop this go back to the county standards and make it an agricultural enterprise, it just, what happens is it takes away the city's opportunity to protect the future growth of the city for residential. And I really believe that we have plans that protect the city, and the county has plans that protect the county, but I think our plans are stronger.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bowling?
No, I was pointing.
Oh. Who over here? Councilor Newman?
Man, this one's hard. I guess I have a couple comments. One comment is we're talking about building lots, right? 200 and whatever, how many ever lots. We don't own the property. There are no lots. We don't own a lot, right? The applicant clearly stated up here, he's not building, right? So that's the problem. That's the problem I'm having right now is he's not building. So I think we can throw that argument out the window, right? There is a plan, right? And there was a plan with the old owner, but we have a new owner who doesn't see that plan. And so I don't know, this one's really hard for me. I don't know how I'm voting.
Councilor O'Doherty.
I have a comment. The people that don't see the value of the city, we have a fire department. If you have a fire on that corner lot that's a county lot, our firefighters that are less than a mile away will go fight that fire. And the county pays us a couple $100,000 a year for firefighting. But we go out, because I'm so heroic, our firefighters go out to the county when people have emergencies, if you fall off your horse, if your house burns down, and if the burning house falls down on our firefighters, that's our responsibility. So to say that there's no advantage to me personally to be part of the city, I think that's pretty short-sighted, because the city, we have a lot of amenities that people count on that live outside the city that then they don't pay for. So I think a house that's right on a road benefits from that road. And I know we've been sued by the people just to the east because we didn't want county access into roads that were not built. They were, it's a development that's residential. They weren't built for heavy equipment and the kind of traffic, so in that area near Quarter Horse. So I don't want to have this happen again, where a development is built to county standards with county roads, and then down the road, the septic system is no longer, the water is no longer potable, the septic system goes bad, and they want to be annexed, and then we're stuck with substandard roads, we're stuck with houses that may not be built to our codes, and so I'm opposed. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm with Councilor Newman. This is a tough one. I really feel for the private property rights piece of that. I think people should be able to do what they want to. Generally, let's put some parameters around that, but broadly. And I do feel like if you have this vision of what you want on a piece of property that you bought, and thinking about all the processes you have to go through to see if you can get a variance, to see if you can get your shed built, to see if you can do all these things. I get that too. And then the flip side of that is knowing, that you bought into city property. So you know that comes with what you're buying when you buy city property. And so that's where I'm struggling. This is a big old piece of property that there were apparently issues with because the previous owners were selling it. And so I think as the purchaser also, there's some risk you took. And so this is where my back and forth is. Councilor Shumway, you brought up a good point with septic, with if it does get developed, and again, totally up to you, not our property. But if there were a lot of septic systems out there, if eventually that happens, that would be concerning. I think for me, and I just keep thinking about there's an issue here, right? So we're hearing about how there needs to be a lift station. We're hearing about how the septic is not there. And I think as a city, we need to do more to invest in those things. And put some in, yes, it is private development, but 240, 239, I cannot remember the number now because it's 2 years ago. If those were ready to go and we thought those were ready to go and now they're just poof gone, then we need to be thinking about how can we better support development and what sort of investment as we are coming up to budgeting time and taking a real good look at what can we do to actually make a difference to make sure that these things get developed. So that's where I am.
Councilor Newman?
I just have a question for an applicant, if that would be okay.
Yes.
If we approved it on first reading, if we approved the de-annexation, so voted no on deny.
You'd have to say no to deny.
If we did that today, so it moves on to second reading, would there be a possibility for you to sit down with our city staff and have that conversation before de-annexing of that property split? Would there be a possibility for you to kind of, better lack of terms, meet us in the middle, and sit down with us and say, could we, you know what I mean?
Council. I think we have an issue here.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. I don't know what's being suggested here, but it's a little hard. Let me back up. To de-annex, you have to pass an ordinance.
Right.
And an ordinance is in front of you. I can't quite picture someone negotiating about an ordinance or changing their entire process to satisfy council?
Yeah.
No, I guess that's not what I'm asking. What I'm afraid of is we vote this no, we never get to build on this property. So I just want to know if negotiations could happen or if conversations could happen.
It is not that this issue can never come before you again, but you're turning it down now. if there are discussions to be had and this gentleman wants to have them with our staff, something else could be brought in front of you. All I'm saying, I don't care what you do, obviously, is that it's very hard to negotiate in this situation where there's a particular petition where you are limited to passing this ordinance or not.
That makes sense.
And so,
Sir, did you have a final comment?
Could I make one comment? So maybe to address some of the concerns. So we were open to this concept earlier, and we tried to do that, okay, and it didn't work. And so I'm not saying that we're not open to that, but at this point, not while it's still in the city. So we would be open to looking at things, and there could be lots on here, but if the motion's denied, there's not going to be anything right now, so.
Okay, thank you.
Clear, thanks.
Councilor Freed.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for everyone who's been working on this a lot longer than I have. Man, this is complicated, and I feel for you guys, the property owner who owns this, and you buy a piece of land for a dream home, and things change. Similar to other council members, I've gone back and forth on this a little bit because I understand the frustrations and the investment that's been put in there, and there's also an investment from the city that needs to be accounted for. I'm concerned for residents close to this property if this were to get de-annexed, and then that's a piece of county parcel. But I guess negotiating wise, like, this person owns a piece of property within the city. They don't have to develop it. They might want to develop it, but they own that. Great. Maybe that doesn't solve our issues for housing, but they have the property. Maybe it doesn't get this property owner exactly what they want, but they own a piece of property in the city. I think if we were to de-annex this right now to talk about housing down the line, we don't have any. Why would this property owner ever come back into the city? Annexation, de-annexation, and then annexation again. There's no value in them doing that. So for me, there's no value from a city's perspective. That's what we're trying to provide here, to de-annex this in the hopes of down the line getting some sort of deal worked out with the city and the property owner that's now been put into the county, because things are easier to build in the county, and for reasons that Councilor Doherty said, some of them, they don't adhere to the same safety codes. They don't have those requirements. But I will say, if we do de-annex, I think we should really try to continue with the planning department and try to negotiate if that ever comes to the table. And I can't speak to what's happened in negotiations or the communications in the past, but I do think that this council is active and would love to try to solve that, whatever that means. Maybe that means that there's never development on here. Maybe there is something that could happen. Maybe we can work with the planning department to see what variances or other things that we can do. But I don't see the strategy in de-annexing this for the county to then try to find a solution with the city later on. Thanks.
Thank you. Further comment? Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. To echo Councilor Freed just a little bit, it feels like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the benefit of taking a step backwards with the hope of then taking 2 steps forwards again. I do want to echo Councilor Richardson's, the Vice Mayor, apologies, sentiment that, something like a lift station is prohibitively expensive, though it's not something that is not being discussed or planned for. And we need to be considering that, as a priority as we're thinking about the northern expansion of the city. I want to be very clear. Like, I take the property owners at their word when they say that they're not currently planning on developing this property, whether it's annexed or de-annexed or not. But also circumstances change, and if this property goes back to a county designation, and then at some point it changes ownership, and then there is a subdivisional development there that is not under our control but adjacent to it is worrisome to me. So this is tough because I also believe that people should get to do what they want with the land that they own and should be able to, you know, have the things like dream homes as they are investing in them come to realization and fruition. And I just really hope that, you know, if this property remains inside of the city, that there can be like a continued collaborative effort to help this property owner feel like they are agent in that process and not feeling frustrated. Because what I am also feeling, at least from the perspective of the landowner, is that they feel like that the city process has not been like amenable to that. And I'm not suggesting that our staff has done that at all, but that is a perception. So I just hope that there can be some continued collaboration, so to speak, for lack of a better word, as we move forward.
Thank you. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo in every single council person's sentiments here. I believe in property owners' rights, but also the property was purchased as a city property, and that's where that's my challenge here. And so I respect that he owns the property. I'm a property owner. I'd want to do what I want, but it was purchased as city property. I understand his argument. I understand everybody's argument. So this is not a very easy decision for any of us. So I didn't know this would be this long of a process, but I'm glad it is because I think it's making us think as a council, and also some great recommendations from the mayor as the city needs to work harder to be able to develop property with property owners. Thank you.
Councilor O'Doherty.
I just, when four of us, I think, were on council when, or maybe five of us were on council when that other part was annexed. And I remembered like breathing a sigh of relief that the other property owners were cool with it. I was wondering if any of us had gotten a phone call saying, you know, I signed this thing, but I don't really like that I had to do it. We wouldn't have, I think that most people would say, oh, well, we don't want to force somebody to be annexed that doesn't want to be annexed. Because if I'd gotten that phone call, I would have said, yeah, I don't want to annex because these people don't want to be part of it. And, you know, like, I don't understand the disconnect, because I would not have approved the annexation if I knew that this other property owner was opposed. And I'm wondering about the other council members that were on council in December of 2023, didn't you get the same impression that the other property owner, it wasn't just like a hostile takeover?
Further comments?
I have a question for you.
Yes, for me?
Yeah, well, so the motion was to deny the annexation. So when we vote, if we say yes, that's denying the annexation.
That is true.
I just want to make sure we are all on the same page because it's a negative. Okay.
And I just, in final comments, want to say that I was here when those negotiations went on, and I did hear the current owner's heartfelt testimony about your dreams, especially during first reading as we move through. And then I remember when, I guess, the thought of being surrounded by all that development, well, there goes my dreams. So I might as well make some money and do an R3 and build an apartment building. And so that's kind of where we left it. And then 2 years go by, and you purchase city property without communicating with city people. It was to protect your piece of property. Mr. Samuels no longer wanted to develop. You now knew there probably wouldn't be 240 houses surrounding that area and that your dream had potential. But yet you purchased city property. And it's like you don't just annex in 2023 and go, okay, that's done. It starts an entire working process to write the annex, to amend the comprehensive plans, to work with the rezoning, to work with the platting. It puts a whole process, a 2-year process, in motion. And I think there may be other alternatives that we can do through continued discussion. And I think we just need to be clean about it. And I plan to vote yes to deny. And I'm hoping that we can continue a process and put something else on the table that's clean. But right now, I think the cleanest thing in my mind is to deny, and then let's move on and see what we can work out. So, City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Newman.
No.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
De-annexation is denied. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Council, any consideration for future work topics? Yes, sir.
Dog parks.
There you go.
Dog parks.
Thanks, Joe.
It is second from Newman.
Second, a third, fourth, okay.
Put it on the spec.
All right, dog parks. Thank you. Councilor O'Doherty.
I move we adjourn.
This meeting, that's right, we have to vote. I'm always so quick with the hammer. I have a motion from Richardson, a second from Lockhart. O'Doherty. Second from Lockhart. I'm so excited to be finished. If you can please call the roll. Oh, we can do voice. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.